guys, I'm gonna get right into it because some of the things that I'm gonna share today is some real estate scenarios, right? Person here that's getting ready to sell their house, getting ready to make a nice capital gain. Got another person that's getting ready to buy a house while they also have a house, and so now they're getting ready to have two houses. And then I'm going to my trust and say, okay, look, why is it important for you guys to have your house inside of a trust? So I'm gonna share my own personal trust to show you how that works. And then I'll also show you too, as far as the assets that we talk about as far as working hard for, how do we protect that? When you have kids and they get married, and how do you avoid your in-laws for having access to your particular assets that you work so hard for? I'm gonna show you that inside of my own personal trust. Then also, guys, I'm gonna talk about something a little bit different that we haven't discussed before. I was just sharing it with another member that had got a pretty large bonus with his job, and he asked, okay, what can you invest in? You know, to maybe diversify some of the different things that what we've previously discussed. So we're also going to discuss a topic which is called syndications, and we'll get into that a little bit later towards the end of the session, right? But syndications is basically, instead of you worrying about a tenant and a tenant calling you, now you're able to get in with a group of investors, and then you're a passive investor. You put up your capital, and then once you put up your capital, then in that particular group, they pay you, whether it's on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, based on the terms, conditions, as far as going into that syndication. We're going to go into detail on that, but that's another way of where you can make money in real estate, where you don't necessarily have to buy a physical property and worrying about tenants in itself, but you can actually put up capital and get paid here. So I'm gonna get right into it here. As always, guys, I want to thank you for rocking with LesWin Financial Community. You guys could be anywhere else, but here you are on a Saturday, seeking and getting this information here. So, guys, check this out. First scenario here, we got a 35-year-old person here, right? And this is a LesWin Financial member, and I don't put names. I just use scenarios, right? So 35-year-old member, LesWin member, house have about $150,000 of equity into it. Now, some people may not know what equity is. So basically says here, equity is the value of the home minus what's owed. The difference in that is the equity. So she's on contract right about now to sell her house, and she's going to get about $150,000 when she sell her house. Mind you, she's 35 years old. So for a 35-year-old person, this is a lot of money. That $150,000, when it's all said and done, between paying the realtor fees and everything else, she's going to get $100,000. Now, she called me this week and said, hey, Sherwin, do you think this is a great idea? Well, she had already sold or already got the house on contract. Once the house is already on contract, then it's difficult to start having second opinions. Now, one thing what I did tell her, there's a different scenario into this situation what she could have done. All right. In this particular situation, in this scenario right here, she could have had multiple homes instead of just selling her house and having $150,000 and not having our house. The main question these days is, once you sell a house, where you gonna go stay at? Well, in her particular case, she got a sister that stay right down the street from her, that she's going to move in with the sister. She's going to have $150,000. She was paying $1,600 a month in the mortgage. Her sister is only going to charge her $1,000 a month in rent. So she's going to have $600 less in monthly payments that she's making towards housing, and she's going to have $150,000. So one of the things she also called and discussed and says, hey, Sherwin, let's get on a plan for to manage this $150,000. How do we grow it? But in scenario two here, I'm explaining this here to you, as far as when I came to her, I said you could have still have your house and still have capital and get money and buy more houses. So let me explain this here to you. In this scenario here, even though she's on contract for $150,000 to sell her house, here's what she could have done. She could have kept her house. She could have rented it out. Mind you, she got $150,000 in equity into this particular home. What will happen is lenders these days, right? If you have this particular property here as your primary property, you can now get what you call as a home equity line of credit. She could have got up to 60% of that $150,000, in her particular as a loan towards her home. or a HELOC, borrowing equity out of your home. So now she got this house. It's got $150,000 into it. She can get up to 60, sometimes 65%. Let's say, for instance, she would have got $70,000 equity out of the house. She would have kept the primary house, rented it out. And the primary house, she said she could have got rent of about $2,500 per month. Her mortgage was $1,600. She had HOA at $300. So that's $1,900 total between mortgage and HOA. And she could have got rent for $2,500, which would have gave about $600, give or take, with expenses and fees like that. Let's say $500 a month, right? So she could have rented out that house. She could have got, say, $70,000 out of equity, moved in with her sister. And then the question is what that $70,000, what do you do with it? Well, in my particular case, I told her we're going to buy another asset because when you do take a home equity line of credit, I do not believe in going on vacations and going to buy a boat and doing home renovations. You take the home equity line of credit and now you go buy another asset in a house. So in her particular case, she rents the house out, she go buy another house, she can buy another house, use a FHA loan, Federal Housing Administration loan, right? Put 3.5% down. Use some of the $70,000. She don't have to use all of it. But between the down payment and the closing costs, let's say for instance, maybe she used 40,000 of it to go buy another house. She still got her main house. She go buy the second house, and she's not using any of her own money to go buy the second house because she pulling the equity out the house. So now you got two houses that's growing in equity. You got one house that's giving you additional income. And oh, by the way, on this particular plan right here, when she's doing this here by renting out her house, now she becomes a business owner because now she's renting out her particular property. So that's a business. So that's going to give her further tax deductions that she didn't have before as a W-2 employee. Now she can write off her Wi-Fi. She can write off her home office. She can write off her mileage. She can write off her business meals. When she want to go take a flight, that's going to be in support of her business. That's going to be 100% deductible. She can also, guys, depreciate that primary or that rental property that she has rented out now. You could appreciate a house for 27 and a half years. That's one of the biggest tax deductions. So with this, in this scenario, what I'm explaining here, this is what she could have done. And one of the lessons that I want to share with you guys, it's not bad what she did because she's still gonna get $150,000. But when you walking through a real estate deal and you may say, okay, look, what are some other options and that I may consider? Don't call me after you get on contract. Call me before you get on contract and before you got to make that big decision because she could have had multiple homes in this particular case, which if you look at these two examples right here, right, this $150,000 here, we're gonna stretch it and take it a long way. But in this scenario here with the multiple homes, she would actually have more money down in the long run because now you got two properties that's growing in equity. You got your business tax deductions that you're taking advantage of, and so this here would have been better. But I'm proud of her because she's gonna take this 150,000, stay with her sister, pay $600 less per month and benefit from this here. So I'm proud of her. She's getting ready to close here in a couple weeks, and she's going to take that. And she's also a PhD. She got a PhD, graduated from University of Alabama. Very smart young lady. So LesWin Financial, man. We are some smart people in this community. All right. Let's go right here and look at the second scenario right here. This is also to a young person. This person right here is actually employed with my job. She's 36 years old. She owns a condo right now in Miami and she just recently got married and she bought the condo herself before she got married, but her husband now is looking to buy a house and because the house is not in his name, the first house is in the wife's name, so they're looking to buy a single family home and they want to have a backyard, they got a dog and everything, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to rent out their condo and they're going to buy a new house. And in this new house, they are already on contract to buy this house for $695,000 right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, that's going to cost them a lot of money on a $695,000 house for a down payment and a closing cost because they have to put 5% down payment. All right. Now, what she's going to do, and she asked me this the other day, she's going to pull $50,000 out from her 401k account because she don't necessarily have the 5% towards the 695,000, and most people don't. But she pulling 50,000 out from her 401k. Her husband gonna pull some money out from his 401k, and that's going to give them the down payment and the closing costs in order to get into this new house here, right? I don't have a problem with this right here, pulling out money from your 401k to buy a house. I'm gonna tell you why. Well, someone may say, well, Sherwin, that's $50,000 that you don't have in your 401k account that could be growing for you over the long term. But for me, it's still buying an asset. She buying a house here in South Florida. Equity in a house grows like crazy. All right. So she take this 50,000. All she doing is transition. She's transferring it from her 401k account and she transferring it to the dirt, which is the house. And the house value is going to grow. Mind you, she's 36 years old. So what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to build equity into the house. And the thing I like about this, guys, you're going to hear me a lot talk about equity. Equity is ownership. If you got money sitting inside your house, I would advise you to be able to take advantage of it, especially when interest rates are getting ready to come down, because now you can go and buy more houses. So now she borrowed from her 401k, but if she want to go buy another house in the future, let's say for instance this new house that she's buying this year, she's in it for 5 years and she got equity done built up into it. And let's say for instance over a 5 year period, she got now got $100,000 in equity, $150,000 in equity. If her and her husband want to go buy another house, they can go do that. Her husband is very aggressive when it comes to buying assets. He kind of see me, and we had a lot of consultation. He said, "Sure, I'm be on the same plan like you. Want to buy houses, buy houses, buy houses." So, in their particular case, yeah, the house may be very, very expensive, but this is going to give them an opportunity to continue to keep playing Monopoly, guys. You keep buying houses, keep buying houses. Because one thing, what we see in Monopoly, right, is if you don't buy them assets, if you don't buy them houses in Monopoly, right, you're going to keep passing go like you getting a paycheck from your job, and you're going to keep landing on somebody else's property, right, where you have to pay for their assets. And that's the thing as far as in these particular cases, when we talk about real estate, right, you can use these scenarios. And when you own a house, it's better than renting because I got another guy right here. He's getting ready to retire. He's getting ready to be able to sell his house, have a nice capital gain from the sale of his house. Now, let me say this right here, guys. When you sell your house, if it's a primary house, once you sell your house, you don't have to pay taxes on any of the gains. If you're a single person, you got an exemption up to $250,000. If you're a married couple, you have an exemption up to $500,000 as far as paying the, you don't have to pay the capital gains tax in itself. So let's say, for instance, we use Bree. All right, Labrisha. Labrisha buys a house here in 2025 for $250,000. She's a single young lady. Bree decides 5 years from now she want to sell the same house that she bought for $250,000. That's now $400,000 for us to value wise, right? And she bought it for 250 in 2025. She sells it for 400,000 and 2030. That's $150,000 difference. The one thing about Bree, because she's single and the IRS says that she has up to $250,000 exemption on capital gains tax, right? She don't have to pay any taxes on that $150,000 difference between the 250 and the $400,000. That's the great thing about real estate in itself because it's tax advantages that come with it. The first person that I share here with you that's getting ready to get sell their house, that's on contract, getting ready to sell it for make $150,000. She's in the same scenario where she don't necessarily have to pay taxes on the house as well. And so this is very, very important here. Now, as we talk about these two different scenarios, what I also want to go back right here, and I talk about this a lot, is estate planning. Not only just owning a home, but guys, I want us to be able to have what we call is the American dream. And oftentimes we slip up on the American dream because we don't take care of our estate planning. So the next question I want to show you here, right, is this right here. What if your children get married and now the spouse now have access to your assets. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for instance, right, you buy your house, and you don't bought your house, and you don't bought your house, and now you pass away, and now these houses are passed down to your kids, or a house is passed down to your kids, and now they get married, and now they got access to your assets. This happens all the time. But what I want to share here with you guys is how do you avoid that? But I posted on the Facebook page this week a scenario, and I want to share that here with you really quick. And I'm gonna show you my own personal trust. I'm gonna show you the language that we got in there to where you can avoid uh, in-laws, right? From getting access to your particular things here, right? So I posted this here in the LesWin Financial Group Facebook page this week, right? How you avoid your children, spouses from owning your assets, or what if your child has an addiction or a gambling problem? So here's the scenario right here. You have life insurance, 250,000. You got a home with $150,000 in equity, and you got a retirement account at $300,000. So you add those up, that's a total of $700,000. You pass away. Now, here's what happened. You give this $700,000 to your child. It goes to them when you pass away. The child now transferred this money to a joint bank account, and the child and the spouse now buys a house with some of the money from this $700,000 here, right? But guess what? 50% of the time, here's what happens. The child now is headed for a divorce 5 years later. And guess what? They got marital assets because they bought the house together with your money. But guess what? Part of the child inheritance is most likely to go to the child's soon to be ex. Oh my God. So that's what happens though, man. How do you avoid that? And I put in this message right here. Do not leave your money to your child outright and call it generational wealth. Now check this out, guys. This right here, man, is some deep information that I'm about to share here with you. All right. So I'm gonna go right over here. All right. So guys, this right here is less than our trust on one of our properties, our main house. All right. So attorney wrote this up. So we got the trust name, you got the property address. All right. Now I want to go right down here to it. I want to go right. I'm gonna go up and show you the other information. I'm gonna show you the exact information that we got in our trust. All right. I told my attorney that drafted this up. I said, man, how do I avoid this right here? If my kids inherit my assets, how do I avoid those in-laws having access, right? This link is right here in the green. He wrote this up. The surviving beneficiaries, which will be my three sons, I'm going to show you that in a minute, are not to share any capital gains from sale of the trust property with future spouses. Each surviving beneficiary, which is my three kids, must set up a separate bank or investment account with their name and future kids as beneficiary, only to avoid the need to probate the funds in said accounts. The beneficiaries, check this out, shall not designate their spouse as a beneficiary on said accounts. The trust property and any revenue from the same is intended to be solely for the benefit of the beneficiaries only. That's just my kids and my grandkids, right? I'm gonna love my in-laws, but I work too hard just to be giving my stuff up to in-law that may divorce any one of my sons in the future. Should any of the beneficiaries get divorced, the trust property and any revenue from same shall not be considered a marital asset. So it's not going to be any marital asset, even if they get married, because one, is not in the spouse's names, and is not and shall not be considered a marital asset to which their spouses can attempt to recover through equitable distribution or any other remedy in dissolution of a marriage action. Guys, I'm telling you here right here, man, this right here is most important. Owning a home is one thing, but when you have a trust, that's the American dream. Because what happens is we talk about generational wealth so loosely on social media, right? Or just with families. But this, when you have a trust and you could put any specific language in your trust and how you can avoid certain people having access to your particular assets, that's key. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back into my trust in a few minutes. But matter of fact, this past Monday, I was helping a guy in Georgia. We was on trustandwills.com website. That's another way that you can set up your trust. And we was setting it up. He got a house, he got another rental property, he got some land, and he got 3 kids, and he's married. But believe it or not, his beneficiary, you would think that would be his wife, but any of those assets that he have, he's not leaving it to his wife. He's leaving it to his kids. And I was filling out that trust with him, and we was going through it line by line because it's a template. I said, "You don't want to add your wife?" He was like, "No, man, she probably got more than me." But that's important though, because guess what? If he didn't necessarily do that trust, then what would happen is it went into probate, and then the county there in Georgia, what they would have done is those assets that he had would have went to his next of kin, which is his wife. So his desire was to give his assets to his kids and not necessarily his wife. So now by doing this trust, he got this trust in place. We're gonna roll his house into this trust, and then that's how he's going to be able to protect his assets. And I don't know. This is my first time ever seeing that for a husband not passing down assets to a spouse in itself here, right? But everybody is different. But that was different for me to see that. All
Hey,
right.
Cheryl, they had a couple
Now,
of questions in the chat for you before you went too far.
yeah, hold on one second, Mike. Here, let me turn my volume up. Make sure I get your question here. Hold on one sec here. All right, go ahead.
No, I was saying they had some questions in the chat for you. I didn't know if you were seeing them pop up. That's all.
Oh, you know what? I have not, man. I've just been talking and rambling, but thank you, Mike, for that. Go ahead, Lamoya. I see your hand raised.
Okay, so I have a question about like what you just explained, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, your son puts 50K into the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say the wife put 50 or 30K into the house.
Mm-hmm.
How how would it work? Are you saying like if they were to get a divorce and then they're splitting the asset, he would at least get back the 50K without that being shared? Or like
Yeah,
I think I missed something.
yeah, no, that's so. Let's say, for instance, and that scenario here, what I just used, right? Let's just say, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, the spouse didn't use any of her money, right? They used
Okay.
all of the money that he got of your assets, and they bought the
Mm-hmm.
house.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, they get divorced 5 years from now. Then what's going to happen is the judge is going to give her half of what the capital gain was, and then him what the half of capital gains was, right? But
Right.
again, if you look at your scenario, Lamoya, if the wife did put some of her own money into it, a judge
Mm-hmm.
through divorce, they would give her back her money that she put in as well. But my particular case in that scenario was if they use all the money from your assets to buy the house.
Okay.
5 years later, they sell the house, and then now they got to split it up in half as far as the capital
Mm-hmm.
gains.
So then your son would then get to keep all the equity pretty much from the
Absolutely.
house. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm
Absolutely.
following.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Just wanted to clear that up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question. Great question. Any more questions?
I have a question. Hi, Sherwin. Hi, family. This is Sharon. I have a question about putting your house in a trust and all the like, for instance, the first person that you made an example of as she had the opportunity to buy multiple properties. Do you put all the other properties that you purchase or homes that you purchase in the same trust, or do you put them in individual trusts?
Nah. So that's a great question. You want to put them each in an individual trust.
Mm-hmm.
So each one of my houses is in a separate like trust per se,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and by doing that, a lot of people say, "Well, Sherwin, how do you put a house in a trust?" All right, let me show you this here with you really quick. And so what happens is you have two things here. You have your trust, you have your trust set up. Let me go back up here to the top. So once you get your trust done, this is your trust. You get this set up. All right. You got your home information in here. You got your beneficiaries, what you talk about, which is who you want the assets to go to. Then you have your trustees that's also assigned to the trust. So your trustees could be your kids, but in our particular case, our trustees are not our kids because they are under the age of 18. So one of our trustees is Georgina Jones, which is the best friend of Leslie, shall serve as successor trustee. In the event that Georgina Jones passes away, then now my sister Sinead will be the successor trustee. All right. And they're going to manage this particular trust based on the wishes that we wrote in our particular trust. Like I shared this information right here where in-laws can't necessarily get access to the capital gains, but also too we got additional language in here as well, right? If any of our kids get convicted of a crime, they're going to miss out on some of their future payouts because we have it set where every 3 years they get a boatload of a massive payout. If they get on drugs or alcohol, right, they're going to miss their next distribution as far as what's paid out to them every 3 years. So we even got language in here as well. I'm going to go into detail. If they go to college, they get extra money. But what I want to share here with you guys is once you get this trust set up, that's step one. Set up the trust. All right, set this trust up. Step number 2 is this right here. This is where you roll the house into the trust. You do a quit claim deed. This quit claim deed right here, it takes Leslie and I name off the deed. And now the deed is transferred into the trust. And now the trust owns the home. The deed is in the trust name. And what happens is now Leslie and I don't own the home. The deed owns the home. We just control it. I don't want that to go over your head because when you do a quit claim deed, you take your name off or you add somebody else's name to it through a quit claim deed. All right, this was done by attorney here, and this quit claim deed was done to take our name off of it, transferring our house into the trust. And once we did this quit claim deed, then the final step of what you do is you go to your local county property appraiser office, wherever your county is at. I'm in Broward County. And now you take that trust and that quit claim deed and you want to record it with your property that's recorded. And the reason why you want to do that is that show clear evidence that you don't necessarily own the trust anymore. That trust is inside that house. So in the event when I pass away, my kids ain't got to be scrambling looking to see, okay, well, dad had a trust somewhere. We can't find it. No, that trust is recorded with the county. All they got to do is show mom and dad's death certificate. And that trust now says that those houses that we own are now going to be equally divided between our 3 sons. And so what's going to happen is Leslie and I, for the trust, the deeds will be taken out of the trust, and now the deeds will be in our 3 sons' names. I say this quite a bit over the last couple months. If you look at your parents or your grandparents, if they bought a house, say 30 years ago, and they don't pass away, that house that they bought, the deed is still in their name, even though that they passed away. And the reason why the deed is still in their name because they didn't do any estate planning. They didn't have a trust in place to be able to take their name off the deed in the event they pass away. That's what you call what I'm showing you guys right here is a well transferred strategy because even in my own personal family, right? I got a grandfather right about now died over 50 years ago. Guess what? The house is still in his name. So if anybody in the family want to make some type of adjustments to the house, guess what? If they want to, knock the house down or do some sell the house per se, right? You can't sell the house. It ain't your house. It's in the grandpa name. But how do you avoid that, right? You have a trust in place. In our particular case, anybody that's on this call right now is watching on Facebook Live, be watching it on the YouTube channel in the future. If you own a house, it is mandatory for you to have a trust done. Once you get your trust done, you do a quit claim deed, take it out your name, and transfer it into the trust. And now your house is inside that trust, and now you avoid what I'm telling you what happened to my grandfather and many of black people. 95% of black people own a house but don't have no estate planning in place. So when they pass away, now they got to go to probate and family got to fight over it. Guys, our houses are our biggest asset. So we want to make sure that we have that structured and that's in place here. We got any more questions here before I move to the next topic? Any more questions?
I have a question, Sharon. How you
Yes,
doing?
sir.
Thank you for educating us on this Saturday morning.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
My pleasure.
you mentioned you have a trust for each property.
Mhm.
Are we talking about a land trust for each property, or are we talking about a revocable trust for each property?
So in our particular case, and I didn't really want to go in detail on this. I knew you was going to ask this question. As far as what's the difference between a
Thank you for
revocable.
asking, because I was about to ask that question.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. So our attorney, when we got our primary property done, and then we started to put our rental properties in separate trusts, he had recommended our primary property is in that land trust, but he had recommended that I'm sorry, it's a land trust, but he recommended that we do land trust. Now, he explained that to me, Zamora, as far as the benefit to the land trust versus the revocable trust. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't get 100% grasp because he went deep into his legal knowledge, which a lot of times I fully understand his estate planning knowledge broken down, but I don't understand the difference between a revocable and a land trust in itself. But he thought it was best because of owning those multiple properties, having the land trust. So Zamora, what I will do is I'll have him come on maybe for a quick 15-20 minute session in 2 weeks and explain that difference between a land trust and a revocable trust. But I don't have that answer for you,
No problem.
unfortunately. Yeah.
It just I probably went back and forth in the last 2 weeks, last month with maybe 10 different attorneys,
Mhm.
and all of them has different views, on the land trust compared to LLC or straight trust. Because if I do that for my situation, it'll just be super complicated,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But it is. I mean, it's funny how you mentioned that this morning because that's what I've been doing a lot of research on this last pretty much this year so far to get
Right.
things organized.
Right. Okay.
So
Good
thank you.
stuff. Yes, sir. I see George here in the chat. He says, "Can you put a timeshare into a trust?" I do not recommend that. No. You can, but I don't recommend it. Man, look, man. I know you guys know I've heard say this quite a bit. Man, stay away from timeshares, please. I spoke to a couple, man. They spend $655 a month. They're aggressively trying to pay off a timeshare. The timeshare was $20,000. They have to pay the HOA on the timeshare for a lifetime. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is crazy. So, yeah, stay away from timeshares if you can here. I'm going through the chats here and taking the questions here. How much does it cost to get a trust established? Great question here, Mike. You can go on trustandwill.com website and you can literally get one done for $500. I'm doing one right now with a gentleman in Georgia that I just mentioned, and it's a template. A lawyer, that's all they're gonna do as well. They doing the exact same thing. They going off a template, and you're paying for a lawyer certifications when you go through an attorney or whatever, right? So I recommend, you can go through this trustandwill.com website, which I'm getting ready to share here right now, and it's gonna probably take a couple hours to figure out who's gonna be your trustees, your beneficiaries, special language that you want. But literally, man, you can go right over here to trustandwill.com. It's gonna cost you $500 to set up. It's gonna show you a template. Mike, they gonna tell you to say, hey, look, man, your final wishes. Where do you want to be buried at? What funeral home that you want to have taken there? Do you want to be cremated? Like they already have some of these pre-populated questions that you may not consider, right? Uh, but this is a site right here. Literally, you can do it. It cost you $499 literally to get it done here. I'm gonna go ahead and put it right here over in the chat. This one website right here. But $499 you can get it done. And in this particular case, like with this gentleman right here, he said, Sherwin, I don't feel confident doing it by myself. Can you walk through it with me? And we got my trust up, looking at their language. Now it is an additional cost for me to do that. But if you guys, $499 instead of paying, $2,500, $3,000 for an attorney, you could pay $500. I charge a few extra hundred more, just kind of walk you through it, guide you. And then what happens with this here, guys, is once that trust is done, even on the trustandwill.com website, they also have an additional service on there where they will transfer the deed. And there's a brother that's on here that did it on the trustandwill.com website. Let me see. Let me see here. George, do you mind giving your experience on the trustandwill.com website?
Yeah. So, and I think Sharon, this is so. Good morning, and then good morning to everyone on the call. Actually, I think you had mentioned this on a previous one of your previous sessions, and I took you at your word, like I try to do most times, and it was just too easy. I went to the website. You'll do initial profile. You'll fill out some information. There's a legal team that gets back with you, and everything was done. There's a little extra fee that you can pay for them to do some extra administrivia. But I got to tell you, the peace of mind of having a house in a trust, and the fact that I only had to pay, a couple $100 to get it done. I got to tell you some of the best advice that I've ever gotten. So if anybody's on the fence, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And then, like you said, Sharon, not only did I get the trust, but I think I also got like a property assessment at the end as well.
Yeah.
But I don't have it in front of me to speak to all the specifics.
Yeah. And George, in your particular case too, it's like you got a family, and you got kids, and being able to make sure that's transferred, that house is in that trust, and you can pass it down according to how you want based on those instructions that you wrote in your trust. And so for you, George, how much you say your house is valued at?
Like 1.9 million.
So in that particular case, guys, when you got an asset that's worth this much, especially, right? Look, man, you don't want your county judge, man, deciding who gonna in this large of an asset. You work too hard for it, you know? There's a reason why I asked George that, because I knew how much his house was worth, because we worked through this for us working with him buying that house. But I'm proud of you, George. Thanks for your input on that.
Sure, and I'll add this other bit. I think the stuff that you do here, and the stuff that the folks that we all follow you, I think it becomes infectious, because you've known my family for a long time, my brother and sister, and now they're all in the process of putting their properties in trust as well.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, definitely building a long-term wealth, generational wealth. So
Absolutely.
and my sons got to see that, so
There
they're
you
gonna
go.
do the same thing.
There
Over to
you
you.
go. Hey, keep it up, George. I'm proud of you, buddy. All right. Let me see here. So I was trying to get all the questions here. Would there be an additional 500 for each property? Yes, for each property, yes, there'd be additional 500. If you have it there. So I'm just answering the questions here in the chat. How much does it cost? We discussed that. We definitely need it. Oh, when are the rates expected to go down? Mike, that's a very great question here, right? Hey, man, we see Don Juan. I call him Don Juan, which is Trump. He said on Friday with Jerome Powell, which is the Federal Reserve Chairman, Trump want Powell to cut 1%, but man, Powell ain't budging. But I would say, Mike, towards the end of the year. Uh, May jobs report came out. It was very strong. Every month, family, there is a monthly jobs report that comes out that shows how much jobs was created in the U.S. And Friday it came out for May, and it was a very strong report. And when those reports are strong, then it does not give the Fed indication to cut interest rates. So normally when you got a very strong job market, they're not going to cut interest rates. Now, if the job market is not well, or let's say, for instance, when the economy is not well, that's when the Fed will decide to start cutting interest rates. But when you got the stock market 2% away from all-time highs, and then you got a strong job market, the Federal Reserve ain't going to be cutting interest rates no time soon. So maybe towards the end of the year, Mike, we'll possibly see that. All right. Okay. All right. So I got one more thing, or I got two more things I want to talk about here really quick. No, I'll say this one thing and then we're done. So guys, I want to teach you guys something about market real estate syndication. All right. Market real estate syndication. This is basically where if you say I want to invest in real estate, and I don't want to buy physical property. I don't want to put a down payment. I don't want to put no closing costs. I don't want to worry about no tenants dealing with, the toilets and tenants. There's this thing out here called syndication. And syndication, I want to share my screen here and kind of show you that as well, right? Syndication is basically where you put up a certain dollar amount, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000, right? And you may not be an experienced real estate investor, right? But you may want to get with a group. You may want to get with a group that's been doing this for a while, and now you want to be able to make money off your money and do it. Now, this is what you call diversifying your investments into real estate. And a lot of times we have our stock accounts, our retirement accounts, but real estate syndication here, guys, all it basically is right here, right? You see this right here? Real estate syndication is a partnership between a group of investors pooling their resources into a single investment. The structured investment typically involves a GP, and you have an LP, which is a limited partnership. Now, what you would see is you could go online and you can just kind of Google different real estate syndication groups. So if you was to go over here, right, and if you was to go, let's say for instance, if you ain't got $20,000, say you got 3,000, you got $300, right? So if I right here go into Google and say low cost real estate syndication, right? I don't spelled it all wrong. Here, let me see here, syndication, low cost real estate groups, right? I go in here and see if I can find different groups. I was looking at this one here last night, right? The Gatsby investment, right? And they have it to where you can go and buy multifamily properties for people that's, they got groups in here that's doing that. Um, Look at Gatsby investment track record. Their average annualized net return for their investors from 2016 to 2024 is 22%. Now this is different. This is different, guys, but this is you investing into real estate, but not buying the physical property, but buying it with a group of people. And there is a slew of real estate syndications out here. All right. You see what you do short, long-term investment options. You got multifamily. You can do it, say, okay, if you want 2 to 5 years. All right. Let's hit more right here, right? We hit more. And I'm gonna have another class specifically on this here, right? So you want to invest in multifamilies, right? Apartment buildings, 2 to 5 years. You can go into that here. And then you go right here, you can view all the different investments of what they have going on here, right? They would tell you now you have to set up an account to get more information on this to see the return on interest, right? But you'll see the estimated time frame, 21.9 months here. And these are multi-families here, right? These are like apartment buildings, duplexes, triplexes, right? And then once you log in here and hit view details, they will give you, okay, the minimum amount that you would need to put into this here, and then they will give you your return on interest that's projected once you put your money in. But what I want to do, since we was talking about real estate today, I want to put this C here because we're going to have a separate class solely just on this right here. But this is another way that you can invest your money. Now, how did I find out about real estate syndication? I listen to a podcast, a real estate podcast, at least 4 times a week. And I want to share this real estate podcast here with you. So if you guys are want to learn more about just different things when it comes to real estate, right? Um, there's this one podcast called "How Did I Do It Real Estate," and I'm gonna put it in the chat. And now you find out how real estate investors buy these apartment buildings, buy these multifamilies, or hire a doctor, or hire an everyday person working a 9 to 5 job. They take their money from their 401k account, and then now they're able to leverage that and to buy more real estate. And so there is this podcast that talks about it, and people give their real life experiences when it comes to real estate in itself here. I'm trying to find it here on my phone here so I could go ahead and pass it over here to you guys. Here it is right here. Matter of fact, let me see here. I'm trying to figure out how can I put this on here. Here we go right here. The best way to do it is this right here. I'm gonna go right over here. I'm gonna share my screen, and then I am going to Google it. You can go to this podcast right here, And guys, if you're on the road or if you're just sitting at the house this weekend, these are the things that what we need to be doing, because that's how I found out about markets and real estate syndication, right? A lot of these people that's on here, they have their own syndication groups, right? Um, and you can get into it that way. All right. So right here, boom, this is it right here. How did I do it real estate? This is it right here. So you could do it. This is it right here. How did they do it real estate investing podcast? I listen to this right here, guys, 4 to 5 times a week. I'll go outside walking, doing steps. But this podcast right here is banging. Like people like be real, they'd be excited to talk about how they got in real estate and things of that nature, right? So how did they do it real estate with Sela and Eileen? So if you got your phones here, you can take a screenshot of it, go to your podcast and download it here. All right.